Let's now dive a little bit deeper into the visual aspect in Power BI. So this is a very important thing. And one of the most commonly used visuals is the so-called stacked column chart that we have already used here and also below. So let's have a closer look at how this works. When we select this visual, we can see usually there should this build visual appear. So if we remove it, we can just close it and then we select it and we should see it now again. So this is available, and if we select this, we can see now what data is included in this visual. So we have the x-axis, the y-axis, and we remember that we can change also the data options on the right side. And now we also have in this case a legend available. Again, we can add some data in here just by clicking on the legend. And in this case, we cannot see all of the products so nicely. This is why I said this before. I prefer to have just the data view next to it. So I right click on it and say open in new pane. And now I can have a closer look. So first of all, I could, for example, be interested in also how are the promos different for these different categories. And this is why it can be useful to have a stacked column chart. So like this, we can have another legend included. So therefore, let's just demonstrate it and drag and drop the promo type 1 into the legend. And like this, we can now see that this legend appears. And also we have now these different colors in this chart. And now this shows, first of all, the total amount of each of those categories, and then also the different promos. So how much is now associated with each of those promos. So this can be now very useful to compare this across multiple dimensions. So we can see how are the promos different in the snacks and branded foods versus fruits and vegetables. And we can also highlight one category just by selecting it. And you already see that this now cross filters even to other visuals. And we learn a little bit more about this later on. But we now see that this is highlighted in this visual, and we can also select it in the visual itself. So we can have a little bit more insight and filtering options like this. So this is already pretty useful. This is the legend, and this is in general useful when we want to compare values across multiple categories. And if we want to use this option of the legend, we can even compare multiple categories. For example, the promo type and also the category. In our case, we can also just remove this again and just use it in the plain version. We have, aside to this legend, also these small multiples. So in this case, we could see these values across different multiples. So let's demonstrate this, how this works. We have also the cities in the stores. So we could be interested in seeing all of those sales in a separate visualization or a separate field in this visual. So if we drag and drop it into the small multiples, that now we see for every city those values. Of course, in this case, everything is pretty small. And we need to be very careful with this, because like this visual is not really user-friendly. So we need to drag it a bit larger, and then it can become a bit more useful. So now we can just see all of those cities, and we have basically one graph for each of those cities. In some cases, this might be a good option. In our case, I suggest we again remove it, because now we can see just this very important information of these categories. And in most cases, actually, you will use this visual in the plain version. This is very simple, but very, very useful. But now we want to adjust some things in this visual. We see it is in the plain version. It just has all of the default colors, all of the default descriptions, and we might want to adjust it. And this is very important now. We can format every visual according to our needs. This is something that is very useful and meaningful, and therefore in the next lecture we will introduce how we can work with the Format tab to format our visual.
Thanks for watching the video till the end. Please leave your thoughts below so we can discuss more about the topic. If you'd like to suggest a video that could help the community, feel free to message me on X or Instagram. We also share short videos on Instagram, so make sure to follow us there. Feel free to reach out. We'd love to hear from you, and might even create a video based on your suggestion. Thanks again for being part of our community. See you in the next video.